And we are back, and we just finished 2023's Rustin, rated PG-13, with a runtime of 1 hour and 46 minutes. We caught this on Netflix. This comes to us from the Obama's production company, Higher Ground, and is directed by George C. Wolfe, with writing credits to Julian, Breece, and Dustin Lance Black. This is the story of Bayard Rustin, activist who faced a lot of racism, not only for the color of his skin, but also because he was homosexual, as he tries to help to change the course of the civil rights movement by planning the big March on Washington in 1963. This is also Colman Domingo's turn as a Academy Award nominee for his portrayal of the activist, of which case I think he did a magnificent job here.
Yes, he was fantastic.
Fantastic. I always like seeing him, but it's great to see him in something sort of prestige like this. And there can only be one winner, Oscar night, which is March 10th, I believe, this year. Look at us giving a shout out to the Oscars.
Who cares?
But we're going to pair this with another Oscar nominee, which is Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. Both really great films, really great stories. But again, unfortunately, only one can win. But you know what? Colman Domingo does such a great job here of just getting you to know this guy and understand him and really root for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's unfortunate. This is not stuff prior to this, I hadn't known about the activist. I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know he was the architect for creating the March on Washington.
Yeah, I mean, well, in history, you rarely hear about the guy who pulled all the strings and organized everybody. You just really hear about the ones who were out front and center, the speech makers and the guys at the head of the line marching.
Right.
And in addition to the fact that he was a fantastic organizer, a charismatic guy who got a lot of people not only just like together, but also inspired to fight for this.
Right.
I mean, there are probably certain aspects where some people may have been like, maybe I shouldn't be involved or something like that. But this guy, no, he had that level of charisma where he could get these people to stay and to donate their time and their effort and believe in the cause. So you'd think, okay, he would be one of the people front center, but because of who he was and the fact that this is early mid-60s.
1963, yeah.
Gay people, no.
Yeah.
They were back then.
I mean, bad enough, like, in that time being black, right? Because you're already got a target on your back.
You already got a target on your back, but in addition to that, being gay. And, back then it was like, everybody was, that gay guy got the crap kicked out of him. Good for him.
Right, yeah. Who cares?
It was like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it was just sort of like, just horrible mark upon you. You were just tainted beyond belief to the point where there was that segment where he's listening to the radio and Strom Thurmond's like, Pasadena and arrested for homosexuality. And in his mind, it's just like, that's it. I am screwed now. Even if everybody had their little suspicions or whatever, it's now, it's out there in the open. I pled guilty to pleading guilty to being gay. Yeah, it was a crazy time, and he was like worried that this could derail what he's been working so hard for. And it was like when he walks back into that office the next day, and everybody's just hard at work, just getting to it, and he gets the sort of, this guy is a fantastic organizer, and he believes in freedom for everybody. He gets like that endorsement from King and from
Randolph, the other.
And you could see the tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
It's like, because...
Validation.
Yeah.
And to be acknowledged as a human being. I mean...
Right, to try and slander him for that is just bullcrap. It's not going to stop the cause. This is too powerful. And he should have probably gotten more credit than he did.
Yeah, but it's good that...
been a little bit more better known amongst the activists back there, because you recognize other names throughout the story. He's the title character, and it's just like, who's that guy?
Who's that guy? Yeah. But I think they do a great job here of telling his story, and it's lovely. It definitely goes through so many things. I mean, your heart breaks for him, you root for him, you cheer for him, you laugh at some of the things that happen. It's really a well put together story, and Colman Domingo is just the glue here. He puts on such an amazing performance. Again, it's unfortunate that only one person can take the award, but maybe if it had been another year, this could have been Colman's race to win. But I love that guy. I mean, I've loved that guy since before. And I think that I hope that this project opens up bigger and more amazing opportunities for him, because he is just an amazing actor to watch. You don't know where Colman ends and Rustin begins, and vice versa. And it's a treat to watch when you watch somebody just so immersed in their craft that you literally are just so spellbound and riveted by the performance. I think I'd heard him on an interview once say that he wanted to do Baldwin. I would love to see him do James Baldwin. I hope that happens. But any other thoughts? What did you think of the story?
The story was fascinating. It's always interesting to hear about certain aspects in history, because everybody knows about the March on Washington, but
sure.
Not many, if anybody, really knows how it was put together and the hurdles that they faced, even from within the NAACP and what's his name, Jeffrey Wright's character,
right,
who was throughout the whole thing was just trying to throw monkey wrench after monkey wrench into the whole thing.
He was a jerk.
Yeah.
And to a point, so was Chris Rock's character, the NAACP guy.
I was just about to mention Chris Rock, because I don't know what it is about Chris Rock, but when I see him with like the mustache, like a gray mustache and gray hair, I'm just like, that's Chris Rock pretending to be an old man. Because he looks he
is older.
He is older. He probably doesn't have to. Naturally, I bet he does have gray hair. And I'm like thinking about him in like CB4 and because he hasn't put on any like age weight. He's still this lanky guy,
skinny little bastard.
Yeah, it's like age, damn you.
Well, what about the guy who played Randolph, Glynn Turman, who was in A Different World? Remember him?
I mean, well, that guy always looked a little bit old. Yeah.
A little. I mean, he looks fantastic.
No.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean he looked old and decrepit. I mean, he always looked like a man.
Yes,
not that Chris Rock is not a man, but he looks like he's freaking 20.
Yeah.
It's like, God damn it, Chris Rock. I think he's older than me. Is he?
I think so. I'm going to look right now. He was born in 65. Sure as shit he's older than you.
He's my sister's age.
No, he's older than your sister.
He's older than my sister. But yeah, he just, every time I see him with a gray mustache, I just think he's going to be overacting like an old guy.
CCH Pounder is another one that doesn't age, I feel like. She looks the same.
Yeah. She hasn't changed at all either.
She's also like, her face looks the same. I mean, her hair is different. It's grayer, but but she also looks the same. And Jeffrey Wright, another, also nominated for American Fiction in the Best Acting category, but he plays Adam Clayton Powell in this, who's just a louse. I think you also get an idea of some of the other characters within, I guess, the movement, maybe not as famous and stuff. I mean, there's like a little bit of Medgar Evers right before he gets assassinated, and they also show a young John Lewis, I guess, the start of his political career. Mm-hmm. So that was also like an interesting part of this story. Obviously, they're all there in this moment in time, and then you get the other characters, the other young idealists that help Rustin kind of achieve this massive undertaking.
And it was nice how when they introduced these people, they actually put the name and who they were with and things like that.
With organizations,
so you had a better sense, because you may not pick it up or you may not be aware of who these people are until you see the name associated with the character and you're like, oh, that guy. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's especially true here, because again, these aren't stories that or histories that are really taught in schools. Like, again, like I said before, I had no idea who Rustin was until a few weeks, maybe a few months ago, when this movie, I think, first officially came out, and we heard that Colman Domingo was in it. And yeah, I mean, I never heard of Rustin before this.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's not taught in schools. It's not anything. And I think it's unfortunate, because here's somebody that represents two segments of society, the African American experience and the gay experience in America. So,
and somebody who was just extremely instrumental
Yes.
in getting this historic event accomplished. It would not have happened
without him.
For him.
Right. Like
absolutely wouldn't have happened, or if it did happen, it would not be as organized.
Yeah.
For something that had that many people, it was extremely well organized, and they had to do everything because they were getting no help. I mean, they were trying to stymie these people from the get-go. It was like, when he went to go meet them, every time he went to Washington to meet with the police and whatever, completely unhelpful, combative. Oh, shouldn't I be speaking to somebody from the park?
Yeah.
No, you're speaking to me. And then the second time...
I mean, not only that, but just like even the Roy character, the Chris Rock character from the NAACP, it was funny because he hated him, I guess because he was gay. Or maybe not hated him, but he didn't like him. That was very apparent from the very start of the film. But then there's that funny... Well, I don't know about funny, but there's that scene where he's like... I think Martin Luther King is talking to him, and he was like, as much as he dislikes you, he dislikes this other guy, Strom Thurmond, more. So you're kind of in the clear right now. Yeah. So he's going to throw his support to you.
Right, because after that, he was all on board.
Yeah.
But his character was more of like, he was the guy he's like, all right, we're doing this. I'm on board. We're doing this. But you're going to have to reel it back a bit because some of the stuff you're thinking of is just... It's unrealistic.
Right. To have a 2-day event.
To have people sleeping in tents.
Right.
To have some sort of like sing along outside the White House.
Right.
They had all of these other
grandiose ideas
about what was going to happen, and it was just like, if you want people to be behind this, you have to play ball with certain people that are there.
Right.
And
I think that when he acquiesced to that, he understood, because I think Chris Rock's character was actually making a good point. And it's fair because, again, 2 days you're taking away from people, from their livelihoods. Somebody can't go to work. Somebody's not going to be with their family who's going to take care of their children. So I think this is more realistic. It happened within a certain time frame.
It definitely was asking a lot. I think he even mentioned that it's like... So you're asking these people to come from different states and then spend the night in a tent. And these are like old church mothers and stuff like that, because everybody wanted to go. Right. I mean, they how many buses did they end up getting? Like the last count, I think she said something like...
Or 50 something.
Well, like in the thousands, but just
really?
The buses.
Oh, okay.
Like originally they were just like, we'll get 1 bus, 2 bus, 3 bus, 4. And then a half hour later is how many buses we got? Like 2,560.
Yeah.
And they're coming from all over, and we got train loads of people showing up.
Right.
And we're getting all the black cops from the New York Police Department, and they take the extra step of training them.
That was a great scene.
To not react to,
like,
to be instigated, to start fights and whatnot.
Right.
How to handle everything peacefully. That was like the big thing. This is a peaceful protest. He was...
well, his biggest example was Gandhi, right? He said he took down a whole empire with this movement. And that definitely echoed and resonated throughout this piece, how much the quiet defiance of protesting was so important
and
for the
knowing
cause.
That you have to basically cover every angle.
Right, sure.
Because there could have been a lot of stuff going on. There
probably was.
There probably was, but
it was kept.
But it wasn't like you're not going to bite. You're not going to bite because, I mean, you have like conspiracy theories about plants and things like that.
Sure.
Back then, there were things like that.
Yeah. I mean, how else did Hoover get all this information, right?
Yeah. So...
And that was another thing. Rustin was being watched.
He was being watched. Yeah, it was... I mean, they never actually
show that part of it.
It's implied that it's being watched.
Well, when Tommy comes to the apartment and he's like, I'd be careful what you say on that phone because I think it's... Yeah. And even Tommy's face is like, what are you talking about? Because this is obviously alien to him as a white man. And again, obviously... coming from that side of the experience, right? Being a gay person, you're going to face some obstacles. But at the end of the day, Tommy was white. So he had that kind of privilege in this whole scenario.
Mm-hmm. So what would you give this?
I would give this an 8.
An 8?
Yeah. I think it was from where it starts to where it ends. It's a very compelling story. Colman Domingo is just fantastic in this. I absolutely adore him in this. I think he's phenomenal, and it's so different from other things that we've seen him in. And it's just, again, it's unfortunate that the Oscar only goes to one person, right? So I think that he's young enough that maybe something else will hit lightning, but I think in this particular go-around, it's not going to happen for him. But I'm so happy and pleased that this story is out there. I think the fact that you're bringing light to this person who should be celebrated more, who should be acknowledged more, who should be as renownedly known as these other giants of the movement, because through his quiet participation, in a way,
well, his organization, his planning,
right, all of this was
charisma
achieved.
was the charisma that was behind the scenes, getting these people to stick with it. And there were definitely hurdles.
Yeah.
There were definitely curveballs that were thrown at these people, and attempts to discredit him that you'd think, especially back in the 60s, would have just been like, what?
Yeah.
He's one of those?
Yeah. Well, they kept throwing around like communists, right?
Yeah, originally they were going the communist route, and then it was just like,
route.
oh, wait a minute. Now, not only is he communist, but he's gay.
Which is...
That's the end of this movement.
Right, but it
wasn't.
didn't
happen.
I think having the support of Martin Luther King, and also, what was the other guy's name? He was the guy from A Different World. He played Randolph, A. Philip Randolph. Mm-hmm. Like having their support
they
stood
by him.
Yeah, was so important, and that validated him.
It kept it going.
Yeah.
And like I said, it wouldn't have been what it was were it not for his tenacity and pulling it all together. And getting these people to do what they did. I mean, even when the first thing came out with the communist thing, he just turned the radio off and was just like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah, let's focus.
He just ignored the whole goddamn thing.
And it's interesting, too, because I think at the same time, like, he puts so much of himself away, right? Because it's like his sole focus is this cause and making sure that they're heard, that this is a success, that people are brought into this. Another great scene was, I guess, when all the leaders are in the conference room or whatever, going over what's going to happen, and how he just tells people, how many buses do we have, who's on doing this, and sanitation, and porta potties, and all the bases are covered, and even the people at the table are like, you've managed to do this in 7 weeks. It's amazing. So it's not just the speeches. Obviously the I Have a Dream speech is probably one of the most important, most recognizable pieces of
It's an iconic moment.
It's an iconic moment in the movement and on that day, but that wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for Rustin's organization and pulling this all together and really just being those set of values, how peaceful protest was so important for this cause. And I think it elevated the visibility of the cause, because you see the younger activists going to like these white living rooms and presenting their case, and like how it's so important that everyone is at the table and everyone is heard and everyone is validated. And you have people that are racist, but then you also have people that sympathize, that are like, I'm no different than you. You should absolutely have the right to sit wherever the hell you want to in the bus. You should absolutely have the right to be allowed to send your children to school without any sort of fear that something bad's going to happen to them because their skin color is different. It's just, and the other weird thing is that it was a long time ago, but sort of not, kind of, you know what I mean? And it's like, it still boggles my brain that this is how we lived.
To that degree,
it seems so alien to me. And yet, I mean, you still see instances of unfairness in the landscape, but obviously it's not as crazy as it was back then.
Yeah.
You don't have that separation. It's I mean, not to go off on his tangent, but earlier today I watched Crock of Gold, which is the story, a documentary about Shane MacGowan of the Pogues. And growing up in Ireland, he was, I think, born in the 50s, I think he was born in the 50s. It's interesting because they show a scene and it's like, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish.
Yeah.
So it's like how how did that even come into somebody's brain to write something like that as a piece of signage? Like, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. That is so bizarre to me.
And like proudly put it up in the window over their establishment.
Yeah. It's so, and it's like, and it's jarring because it's the same time. It is a long time ago, but sort of not, kind of. And it's, I don't know. It's just a weird, I don't know. It's just a weird thing to.
I mean, it's just, it's a good thing that generations have passed, and with each generation, it just becomes more alien to us.
As it should be.
And that is a good thing. We should never forget that this stuff happened.
Right.
But it is nice to know that as the generations progress, things get better little by little. It's never going to be an overnight thing, or maybe even completely gone.
Right, sure.
But maybe it'll just get to a point where it'll be so infinitesimal that it will be really alien to us, where we're just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because back then, that sign, that was common. To them, that was common sense to those people.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
No blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Ugh.
Why would you allow that into your butcher shop?
I don't know if this film got nominated for any other Oscars, but kudos to Higher Ground Productions, the Obama production company, for bringing this story to light. This is, again, the movie Rustin from 2023. Oh, wait, I didn't get your number.
No, I too would give it an 8.
8. Okay, great. Again, this is Rustin from 2023, rated PG-13, with a runtime of 1 hour and 46 minutes. There is implied sexual situation, but there's no nudity of any kind.
There's some like shirtless men kissing.
Yeah, being intimate.
I think there's a shirtless kiss.
Yeah, but I think that this is a very worthwhile watch. I think if you don't know the story of Rustin, I think you'll be moved and entertained. The movie goes by quick, even though it's almost 2 hours long. Really good writing, excellent performances. The cast is fantastic, and a lot of top tier actors are in this, and they all do a really spectacular job. But again, obviously, the man of the hour here is Colman Domingo as Bayard Rustin, one of the unsung heroes of the civil rights movement and the main architect of the 1963 March on Washington. Okay, so again, if you haven't seen it, go check it out on Netflix. And with that, we will bid you all a
good night.
Good night.